Tonight, let's do something most people spend their lives avoiding. Let's turn our attention inward, not to fix anything, not to improve ourselves, not to become someone better, but to understand something deeper. Carl Jung believed that beneath the identities we perform, beneath the roles we play to survive, to belong, to be accepted, there exists a psyche that operates largely outside our control. A psyche with its own memories, its own patterns, its own intelligence. Tonight is an exploration of that hidden territory, not as theory, not as self-help, but as experience. In the quiet of this moment, when nothing is required of you, ask yourself a question most people never dare to ask. In the darkness of this moment, as your body begins to surrender to rest, we begin with a question that most people never ask themselves. Who are you when no one is watching? Not the version of yourself you present at work, not the role you play with family, not the carefully curated identity you've built on social media, but the raw, unfiltered consciousness that exists in moments like this, when the masks can finally come off. Carl Jung called this mask the persona, and here, in the overlooked corners of his work, lies a warning that modern culture has systematically ignored. We have become our masks. The persona, Jung explained, is not inherently false. It is necessary. It is the face we show the world, the doctor, the parent, the friend, the professional. It allows us to navigate social reality without overwhelming others with the totality of our inner chaos. But somewhere along the way, something went terribly wrong. Modern identity has become nothing but persona. We've confused the role with the self. The mask is fused to the face, and beneath it, in the forgotten depths of the personal unconscious, the real psyche continues to live, ignored, repressed, autonomous. Think about your own life for a moment. How much of your day is spent performing? Performing competence, performing happiness, performing confidence, performing normalcy. And what happens to everything that doesn't fit the performance? It doesn't disappear, it sinks. Jung distinguished between two layers of the unconscious. Most people, even those familiar with his work, fixate on the collective unconscious, the archetypes, the myths, the grand symbolic structures. But Jung began with something more intimate, more personal, and far more dangerous. The personal unconscious. This is the realm of everything you've experienced, but cannot consciously recall. Every childhood memory that slipped through the cracks, every emotion you were told was inappropriate, every desire you learned to suppress, every trauma you survived by forgetting. Modern psychology often treats memory as a filing system. Things are either remembered or forgotten, present or absent. Jung knew better. Nothing is ever truly forgotten. The personal unconscious is not a graveyard. It is a living, breathing archive where every experience continues to exist, continues to influence you, continues to shape your reactions, your choices, your very sense of reality. You've felt this. You must have. That sudden, disproportionate anger at a harmless comment. That inexplicable anxiety that seems to come from nowhere. That recurring dream that makes no logical sense. That person who triggers something in you that feels far too intense for the situation. These are not random glitches in your psychology. These are complexes, autonomous clusters of thoughts, feelings, and memories operating below the threshold of awareness, hijacking your adult consciousness without warning. Here's what gets overlooked. Jung didn't see complexes as mere issues to be resolved in therapy. He saw them as autonomous entities within the psyche, splinter personalities with their own agendas, their own emotional charges, their own power. When a complex is activated, you are no longer fully in control. The complex takes over. You become the hurt child. You become the rejected lover. You become the shamed failure. And the conscious ego, the you that thinks it's in charge, is left scrambling to rationalize behavior it didn't consciously choose. This is the great illusion Jung warned about, the myth of conscious control. We tell ourselves we are rational beings making conscious choices, but beneath the surface, the personal unconscious is running the show. The forgotten depths are steering the ship. And the persona, that carefully constructed identity, is just a thin veneer covering an ocean of unprocessed experience. What happens when we over-identify with the persona? When we believe we actually are the role we play? Jung's answer is stark. Superficiality, rigidity, and eventual collapse. If you believe you are only the successful professional, what happens when you lose your job? If you believe you are only the devoted parent, what happens when your children leave? If you believe you are only the attractive, youthful person, what happens when age arrives? The persona, when mistaken for the totality of the self, becomes a prison, and the personal unconscious, denied, ignored, repressed, grows more powerful in the darkness. This is why midlife crises happen. This is why people who have it all still feel empty. This is why success often brings depression rather than fulfillment. Because the persona is not you. It never was. Let's go deeper into the personal unconscious now. Let your awareness sink beneath the surface of your daily identity. Consider this. You are being influenced right now by experiences you cannot remember. That moment when you were 3 years old and felt abandoned, even though your parents were only in the next room, you don't remember it consciously, but your attachment patterns carry its imprint. That time you were humiliated in front of the class in 2nd grade. You've moved on, but your fear of public speaking remains mysteriously intense. That relationship that ended badly years ago, you've processed it, but somehow every new relationship hits the same painful patterns. The personal unconscious doesn't operate on the timeline of conscious memory. Time doesn't heal these wounds, it just buries them deeper, where they continue to fester, continue to influence, continue to demand recognition. Jung understood what modern culture refuses to accept. Forgetting is not the same as healing. Here's the part that makes people uncomfortable. The psyche has its own intelligence, its own will, its own purposes that may not align with what your conscious ego wants. You can decide you're over something, but the complex in your personal unconscious may have other plans. You can resolve to change a behavior, but if the underlying complex isn't addressed, you'll find yourself repeating the same patterns despite your best intentions. This is not a failure of willpower. This is not a lack of discipline. This is the autonomous psyche doing what it has always done, trying to be heard, trying to be seen, trying to be integrated. The complexes in your personal unconscious are not enemies. They are parts of you that were split off, denied, forgotten, and they want to come home. But they can't come home if you're too busy maintaining the persona to notice they're knocking. Jung called it inner machinery, the automatic processes of the psyche that run beneath awareness, governing reactions, triggering emotions, shaping perceptions. We ignore this machinery because acknowledging it threatens the myth of conscious control. We want to believe we are the masters of our own minds, the authors of our own stories, the captains of our own ships. But Jung's work reveals a humbling truth. Consciousness is a latecomer to the psyche. The unconscious was here first, and it remains the dominant force. The conscious ego is like a small island in a vast ocean. It can see the sky, feel the sun, believe it is separate and sovereign. But beneath the surface, the ocean, the personal unconscious, the collective unconscious, the autonomous complexes, moves according to its own tides. And when the storm comes, the island learns who was really in control. So why don't we look? Why don't we explore the personal unconscious? Why do we cling to the persona even when it's clearly not working? Because looking deeper is terrifying. To acknowledge the personal unconscious is to admit that you are not who you thought you were, that your carefully constructed identity is a fiction, that beneath the surface lies a chaotic, contradictory, uncontrollable realm of forgotten experiences and autonomous forces. It's easier to keep performing, easier to maintain the mask, easier to believe the lie of conscious control, until it's not. Until the complexes grow so powerful they can no longer be ignored. Until the persona cracks under the weight of its own falseness. Until the psyche itself forces the confrontation. Through symptoms, through breakdowns, through the undeniable intrusion of the unconscious into conscious life. Jung saw this pattern repeat endlessly in his patients. People who came to him after years of maintaining the persona, only to have their entire sense of self collapse when the personal unconscious could no longer be contained. And his message to them, his message to us, was not to rebuild the persona stronger. It was to finally, courageously, descend into the forgotten depths. As you lie here in the darkness, consider this. What if the anxiety you feel is not a problem to be solved, but a message to be heard? What if the depression is not a chemical imbalance, but the psyche's way of forcing you to stop performing and start feeling? What if the recurring dreams are not random neural firings, but the personal unconscious trying desperately to show you what you've forgotten? The personal unconscious is not your enemy. It is the part of you that was left behind when you built the persona. It is the repository of your unlived life, your unfelt feelings, your unintegrated experiences. And it wants nothing more than to be acknowledged, to be seen, to be brought back into the light of consciousness, not to destroy you, but to make you whole. This is where Jung's work truly begins, not with grand theories about archetypes and myths, but with the simple, terrifying invitation to look beneath the persona and meet the personal unconscious, to acknowledge that you are not in control, to accept that the forgotten depths are real, are active, are influencing every moment of your life. To understand that the mask you wear is not your face, and to begin slowly, carefully, courageously, the descent into the layers of the psyche that modern culture has taught you to ignore. This is not comfortable work. This is not the self-help promise of easy transformation. This is the beginning of a journey that will cost you your illusions, your certainties, your carefully constructed identity. But it is also the only path to genuine selfhood, the only way to stop being a puppet of unconscious forces and start becoming a conscious, integrated human being. The persona will still be there tomorrow. The world will still demand its performances. But tonight, in this space between waking and sleep, you can let the mask slip. You can acknowledge the forgotten depths. You can begin to listen to the personal unconscious, not with fear, but with curiosity. Because beneath the illusion of control lies something far more real, the totality of who you actually are. And that is where Jung's journey truly begins.